Henry Hudson was the greatest explorer. His dreams never came true. Henry Hudson was an English navigator and explorer who tried to find a route from Europe to Asia without success. He is considered the person who was in fact responsible for the founding of New York City, and also considered one of the founding figures of Canada because of his discovery of the Hudson Bay. Little is known of Hudson's early life, but many believe he was born around 1565 in England. Hudson grew up to be a talented navigator and sailor. In 1607, he convinced a group of investors to sponsor an expedition that would take him from Europe to East Asia. The goal was to find an ice-free passage to China, essentially sailing north around the European continent. In the next 2 years, Hudson tried twice to find a route to the Far East, via the Arctic Ocean, but he was unsuccessful. Between expeditions, Hudson is believed to have married and have 3 sons. Bam! In 1609, with the backing of Dutch investors, Henry Hudson decided he would try to look for the Northwest Passage. His crew had sailed south and west across the Atlantic Ocean. Hudson turns south and sails into New York Bay and sails up the Hudson River that bears his name today, looking for some kind of inlet or bay that would turn out to be a passage through the continent. Oh. Okay. In 1610, this time sailing under the British flag, Hudson tried again to find the Northwest Passage. This time, following a more northern route, he sailed into what is now the Hudson Strait and then into the bay. When he sails into the Hudson Bay, which is of course large enough that there is actually tidal pull in the bay, it is very easy to mistake it for a passage to the Pacific. And Hudson was not willing to believe otherwise. Hudson and his crew spend the rest of the summer looking for a passage further west because they realize they're not in East Asia. In November 1610, Hudson's ship was icebound in the Hudson Bay after a terrible winter. Finally, in June, the ship was able to leave, but Hudson refused to go home, and so the crew mutinied. They placed Henry Hudson, his son, and 7 other loyal crew members into a shallop, a small boat, and then the rest of the crew proceeded to take the ship back to England. Many people believe Henry Hudson was a failure because he never achieved his life goal, which was to find a quick waterway to Asia. But we should remember he was an able navigator, that his ships always made it back to their investors, and that there is now more water in Henry Hudson's name than any other human that has ever lived.